Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. My name is Stephanie.
And my name's Travis.
And this is the podcast where we prove that the honeymoon stage never, ever has to end.
Never.
You still like me?
I do.
Well, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm not doing too bad.
Why are you talking like that?
I sound robotic.
Yeah, you do.
Sorry. Let me
Loosen up a little.
loosen up a little bit. You know, getting this podcast started nowadays isn't as easy as it used to be.
Oh, man. It's tough. It is tough. You had to go and get yourself pregnant.
By myself.
By yourself.
We're going to be talking
Was it called
about...
immaculate conception?
We're going to be talking about some pregnancy and postpartum myths a little later.
Oh, okay.
In my topic.
That's news to me.
Yeah. But how was your week?
It's a good week. We've been keeping busy. I feel like the theme of 2022 for us as a family is declutter.
Okay.
And that's something that, you know, we're trying to do a little by little every day, just getting rid of nonsense. I have a box over there that I need to go through tomorrow. So
that Travis was upset that I pulled out, but it's been in that closet for over a year, untouched.
I was upset. And then I immediately got unupset when I saw there was these camera chargers that we bought that I purchased 2 additional times.
Because we thought we lost them.
And there were 2 more in that box just tucked away in the closet. So that was like a sign to say, hey, get your shit in order.
Yeah, so all this shit is here for no reason. We don't even know what's in it.
Yeah.
I got rid of a bunch of stuff in Eli's room, toys, under his you hear me? Under his bed was full of dust. So I had to like get rid of certain things just so there wouldn't be as many places for dust to accumulate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's feeling lighter in here. It's not quite there yet, but we're heading in the right direction. Another thing that's kind of like, you know, on the back of my mind is this is my last week of paternal leave. Paternal leave.
I don't know, but I'm stressed. I don't know how I'm going to do it without you here.
Luckily, I'm still going to be on like a hybrid schedule. So I'll be working from home towards the tail end of the week. But in the beginning of the week, I will be in the office and you'll be single momming it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I'll be okay. I worry about sleep for you.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too, and I feel like I might have to tough it out on the couch. Yeah.
Wait, hold up. News. If y'all remember the episode about sleeping apart, and he never mentioned that to me till right now. Yeah. Oh my God, look at you. You fake.
I just know what I've been experiencing the past 3 to 4 weeks.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, we had a whole episode where we talked about couples who don't sleep in the same bed. And upon further research, majority of couples cited children as the reason why they don't sleep in the same bed. You know, the husband had to go back to work and they just needed enough sleep. And Mr. Travis over here was like, oh no, I'm going to sleep in my bed. Oh, that's fine. I just won't get that much sleep. And look at him.
Listen, it's been, you can attest to this.
I know, but
and honestly,
you're going to break the news to me on live camera?
I'll edit it out.
No.
But it's rough. And like I said, I don't feel like I'm sleeping because, you know, if you say Travis, I'm like, what do you need? What?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always on edge.
Yeah.
Our little man isn't quite there yet. I have a good friend of ours. We were on FaceTime with him yesterday, and his daughter is 6 months, almost 6 months, and he's like, yeah, she sleeps about 10 to 12 hours. I'm like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, if that
even happens, because not every kid does. Eli was like that.
Yeah, Eli was a 10 to 12 hour.
Yeah, he would go to bed by like 9 and sleep all the way till 7 in the morning.
Insane. We lived through it, but I can't even remember those times. And damn, I took him for granted. 10 to 12 hours.
And that wasn't it's not solely developmental. Like, it's not every single kid at a certain age is going to do that. We got lucky with Eli.
Remember that time we put him to bed and then we went to the club and he was...
Don't joke like that. There was a girl she like did that. She put her daughter to sleep and then there was a fire in the house.
She worked overnight at a strip club. Yeah, that was sad.
And it sucks because it's like...
Why are you bringing down my joke?
Because
Damn.
I don't like joking like that. And we Black. People might think we serious. Call ACS on us.
Okay, it was a joke.
It was a joke.
I'm a comedian.
Yeah. You made me lose my train of thought. But yeah, we might not get so lucky with River. So we have to keep that in mind and not put those expectations on him just because Eli did something.
So River just hit a month. How are you feeling about this new guy in the house?
Honestly, it feels good. I'm excited that he's here. Like, I love him so much. It's exhausting. He does like to be held. I have some mom guilt because I worry that Eli might be feeling a little left out because he can't be as involved as he wants to be. Like, he'll try to hold him and do things, but he's still so fragile. And Eli weighs like 50 pounds soaking wet. He doesn't have all the strength to like hold him correctly.
Yeah.
And since River likes to be held, he's very fussy. So I feel like he feels bad that the minute he does hold him, River's like, But again, it's only been a month. We'll get the hang of it little by little. And as River becomes older and stronger, I know Eli could be more involved.
Yeah. For me, it's just... I can't imagine him not here.
Yeah.
I feel like he fits in perfect. I'm not saying he completes the puzzle. We might have a few more puzzle pieces left in there, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't imagine life without him. And he's changed our lives so much already. Even before he was born.
Yeah, the pregnancy.
Just like our outlook on things. And I personally think it's for the better. I think it's going to send us in a much more positive direction than if we only had Eli. It's not to say that Eli was sending us in a negative direction, but I feel like because of his age,
we developed a routine. We were kind of content in the trajectory of our life. And I feel like adding a second child just kind of forced us to see things differently.
Definitely. Right? Definitely.
Like me not working, me not being a teacher after I paid $40,000 for a degree. Like, all of that is kind of like, what? Had River not come around, I would have just kept working. So he changed our life in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
I get that. I've been thinking a lot about moving again. If you've been listening, I go back and forth. Like, I love New York. I love the Bronx. And I have like a connection to it. But the Bronx don't love us.
Yeah, I think I'm like right at that point where I'm over it. I think the biggest thing is we aren't utilizing the city. Like, there's reasons for people to be here. And we don't have any of those reasons. Yeah. We're homebodies. We have children. Mm-hmm. You're now working. You now run your business from home. Mm-hmm. I commute to the city just for work. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's serving us in the right way for us to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Like I've told you many times, like I'm willing to sacrifice that extra commute time to get us something more comfortable. And like I am comfortable here, but I'm just, our family has expanded, and there's only so much we can do with this space and this apartment.
I feel like with the decluttering, I'm not so concerned about the space. I'm like really pushing myself to be content with less. The reason I really want to go is safety. An 11-month-old girl was shot in the face by a stray bullet a couple of days ago in the Bronx. Today's her birthday. Right?
Either today or yesterday.
What? A stray bullet shoots an 11-month-old girl in the face.
If I'm not mistaken, they were in the car.
They were in the car. So think about it. You're in your vehicle.
So the mother was double parked, and she thought like a rock hit her window, and then looked in the backseat, and
her daughter's bleeding.
Yeah.
And imagine that. And I know we recently got a car when I became pregnant because of the train and commuting with a baby and COVID. And we talk about how grateful we are to have a vehicle. We have this like extra layer of safety, kind of.
Yeah.
And look.
When we have our weekly meetings with each other, we talk about what we're grateful for to start off the meeting. And I can't remember, I think it was like last week or the week prior. And one of the things we said was like, oh, we're so grateful to have a vehicle.
But look at how even a vehicle that feels like this safety net for us isn't even all that safe depending on the situation. And we're talking about in our neighborhood, in our community.
And, violence happens everywhere. But it just seems like it's been a lot more and in the city and especially in the Bronx or uptown in general.
Yeah. Too much going on. Like even like the girl working at Burger King was shot. A 27-year-old girl, her ex-boyfriend was stalking her. So then the cops came and he ended up killed. A cop in Harlem went to a domestic dispute between a mother and son. And the cop gets killed. This is all within this week. And it's like, I'm tired of it. I'm over it. It's like too much. Like you will go to get a haircut in the middle of the day and I'm telling you, be careful. Like, why do I have to worry about you getting a haircut?
Yeah, it's sad.
And then raising men around here is like, oh, I'm scared.
Yeah, I definitely am motivated to get out of this area. As much as I love this building, as much as I love our apartment, it's not worth it.
I want to go back to something you said, though, because this is something else that has been shifting in my mind. You talked about being okay with commuting to the city, I feel like we as a people, like, people who grow up in poverty or first generation college students or first generation corporate workers, or we have this mentality that we're fixed in a position. Like we're afraid to move on, right? I feel like for us, if we decide to leave, I don't want you to feel like I have to commute to the city. I want you to have a mindset that like the next best thing for me, the next thing in my life, the next chapter of my life will open up to allow us to move in a way. Because honestly, I don't think I won't be happy. I've mentioned that before. If you're adding 4 hours a day in a commute, but we're in a better neighborhood. And then it's like, okay, we left the city to feel safe, but my husband's going there every single day.
True.
Like, and again, if that's what has to happen at first, but I feel like we have to start unlearning that like one job is the only job there is. There's these pages I follow and they've been talking a lot about job hopping and about how our generation is taking advantage of leaving one company, going to the next, like letting your employer know, like the same way I'm replaceable, I can move on if you aren't meeting my needs, so to speak. And your company's great. And I love, I never have felt the way about who you work for or like how they treat you or anything like that. But at the end of the day, our family is going to come first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's tough. It's, you have to basically invest in yourself. And, there's that fear because that being comfortable and, job security.
Where like you stood employed all of this entire pandemic.
Yeah. So there's a lot to consider, but I hear you. I definitely hear you.
And it also comes back to financial security, financial freedom, wanting less, being happy with less. So that way, if you do lose your job one time And in that transitional period, we're not like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because we have it covered.
Yeah.
Our money's good. We haven't been spending irrationally on things, so we're okay. You know? Yeah. We just went down a whole rabbit hole. You ready to get started?
Well, before we get started, there's something I'm surprised you didn't mention.
What?
What I'm wearing.
Oh, and you know what's funny? I saw your shirt, your sweater, and I saw it on the bed, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to tell everybody this story. And then I forgot now that we're sitting here.
So,
to explain what it is to the people who are listening.
So I'm wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin, the wrestler, sweatshirt. And this is, so not this exact item. It was a t-shirt version of this same graphic. I wore that t-shirt when I proposed to Stephanie. And she hated that I wore that t-shirt.
Hello.
But it's become like this cute thing. Because
yeah, so the sweater he has on, did I buy it for you, or we were together? And
we were together and we walked into round 2.
And I was like, you have to buy this sweater because it's like the t-shirt.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's a funny
but
story.
Yeah, like, how are you going to propose to me in front of your family on Thanksgiving and this is the graphic you wear?
And I thought about everything except what I was wearing. I was like, oh, I just need to look regular. Like, it's not I don't want it to look like it's going to be a big day.
Yeah.
And I picked out like my regular style, like a graphic t-shirt.
But y'all fumbled that. I just thought about that. It was Thanksgiving. Y'all could have just said, dress up a little. It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah. There was a lot of fumbling that happened that night, but
no, but I didn't care. We could have gotten married with a ring pop the day before, so I didn't give a shit. I was just, I was totally surprised because we did talk about marriage, but I just wasn't expecting a proposal. Like we knew we wanted to be married, but I was really, really surprised and I was happy. All right. So am I going first? Are we doing topic 1 or are you doing our new segment first?
Our new segment.
Our new segment. So Travis is leading a new segment and it is called Did You Know?
Did You Know?
You almost forgot the name.
I did. I forgot what name we gave it, but it's called Did You Know?
Did You Know? So Did You Know is going to be a segment where you tell me a random fact, right?
A random fact around relationships. Right? And I'm not going to tell you beforehand.
Mm-hmm. So it's news to me, which is scary.
And we'll discuss it for a bit.
And if y'all haven't noticed, I'm maybe a tiny bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
So I'm nervous.
I think this one's cool. I don't know the year that this survey was conducted, but according to a Your Tango survey, 59% of people remain Facebook friends with an ex after they've broken up.
Okay.
So
59% of people.
So it got me thinking about, in general, not just Facebook, Instagram, a slew of social media apps. How many exes do you follow on social media?
Okay. So before we get personal on me, I was thinking that I can see that because a lot of times relationships could be quick, not that serious, and you break up and it's like, whatever. And if you don't start a new relationship right away, you don't have that pressure of like, let me be respectful of my new relationship by unfollowing this person or unfriending this person.
And I also think it has to do with how it ends. Because although it's normal, it's more normal to end in a like toxic manner.
It's more common.
It is possible to be like, hey, it's not working out, buddy.
Yeah.
Catch you on the flip. But yeah, how many exes you got in that friends list there?
I think I only have one ex that I still follow. But like serious relationship. Now, if you ask about people that oh God. Like people that we just messed around, maybe more, but just one ex.
So one ex and a plethora of hookups.
Maybe. Oh shit. So what? No. We grown.
I'm joking. Yeah, I think for me it's about two exes.
See, look.
But there's also their young loves. I wouldn't even call
know which ex I follow.
I don't remember. But
I'm not gonna mention anything about the person because then it's gonna be my hot box. But you know.
Yeah, mine is like a junior high school to high school girlfriend.
Mine was high school.
And the other one was like shortly after high school. And they both are in serious relationships. I think one is pregnant. Shout out to you. And then
the ex that I follow is married too.
Okay. Yeah. And then the hookups are doing great too. Babies, marriages. Some of them even listen to the podcast. So it's funny how life. I feel it's pretty interesting how you can have something like that with someone and just kind of like, all right, have a good life, and it's not like we're communicating, but you react to stories, but there's no like flirtation or anything. It's really respectful. I don't. How did I come up with this fun fact, and I feel like I'm in the hot box?
I was gonna say, what made you? How did you decide which fact to pick for today? It was random.
I'm gonna look through stuff and then just
pick the one that sounds interesting.
Yeah, spicy.
All right. Nope, that was good. I like that one, even though you put me on the hot spot. So. All right. So for topic number 1, I'm gonna whip out this book that I'm reading. So although I'm a teacher, I've never been a good reader. And not that I can't read well, I can read well, but I've never been a consistent reader. Getting through a book is like nearly impossible for me. I think I have undiagnosed like ADHD or something, or I don't know.
Can we talk about back when you were in school still?
Yes.
So what we had to do. So, what my name deserves to be on her diplomas just as much as hers.
Well, it is because I married you.
You know what the fuck I mean.
It's on my degree.
But yeah, she's not lying about the reading. I would have to read to her and you would take notes.
And not because I couldn't read it, but I would fall asleep or get bored, or like I'll read a whole page and then not remember what I read. Like I was really distracted. So in order for me to write my papers, Travis would like read aloud to me. It's like if I needed audiobooks, but these text books and articles that I was assigned wasn't on audiobook. So Travis would read to me, and that's how I would get my notes and like all my evidence for any papers that I was writing.
Damn, man.
Hot mess.
I don't get enough credit.
Right. Well, one of my goals for this year is to try to keep up with reading, especially because I put a lot of pressure on Eli to make sure he's continuously reading, but it's like he never sees us reading. He actually called us out the other day.
I vaguely remember.
I think he said, "You read, Dad?" And you were like, "Yeah." He goes, "I never see you reading."
Oh, yeah. We were talking about, I think this was when we first mentioned that we wanted to start reading.
Reading together, yeah.
And I was looking at our library and there was a book I read and he's like, "What do you mean you read that?"
Yeah. What book was it? Shoe Dog?
Shoe Dog. Yeah. The Phil Knight. So Shoe Dog is about the creator of Nike. If you know me, that's a no-brainer. I was into it. I read it every day on the way to work. Also, the former CEO of my company gifted to us as a holiday gift. So I didn't go out and buy it myself.
Yeah.
I think if I enjoy the subject enough, I could sit through a book.
Yeah.
But like you, it's not really.
It's not like your go-to thing, like, oh, for joy.
A nice book and a cup of coffee, just snugged up on the couch.
No.
Not me.
So, okay, we've decided we want to start reading more and more intentionally and actually reading with Eli, but not just reading to him, because we have tons of children's books, but like just reading for ourselves for joy, just so he could see that reading and learning is continuous or whatever. Anyway, so I decided to get a book on, babies. Since I just had River, I figured child development. When I had Eli, I kind of was just winging it. Honestly, it was like a different time in my life. A lot of the decisions I made were based on anecdotes, which are basically stories other people said. Your mother has a dozen stories, whatever friend you're talking to, what worked for their children, and then you decide what you want to do, right?
Did someone recommend this book?
So no, I kind of just Googled it. And based on, so basically the author of this book is called Crib Sheet. She's a economist, and so is her husband. So a lot of the decisions that they made for their child was solely based on data. So, for example, breastfeeding versus formula, right? Everybody has an opinion, right? And there's mommy wars, and there's one group that's like, oh, breastfeeding is the only way, the judgmental ass bitches, sorry. And then, you know, the facts about formula or not. So in this book, instead of the author telling you her opinion and what worked for her family, she gives you the data on both. Like, these are the facts about breastfeeding. These are the facts about formula feeding. Now you put in your preferences to make the best choice for you and your family.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, okay, I want to read this book.
So it's not, this is the way. These are your options.
These are
and
your
you
options.
Decide.
And the options, not just these are your options, but these are your options and the data that's around it to support it. Facts, research, actual data, like statistics. And then what I know she does also is like, just because there's data doesn't mean it's good data. Mm. So she'll analyze the data like, well, this sample size was kind of funny, or it was biased.
It's kind of like something you pointed out a while back, but it's like knowing where the data is coming from.
Data's coming from, because it could be biased if they're trying to support an agenda, right? Like the dairy companies were pumping out all this, got milk because they wanted to sell milk, right?
Yeah.
So just like now, the vaccines is like, oh, everybody's like, it's the pharmaceutical companies are trying to convince us of X, Y, and Z, So, and then there's people who are looking at the data and figuring that out. So that's what I liked about this book. It's not judgy. It's like, these are your options. Now, take this information what you will and make the best choice for you without feeling guilty about it.
Did you say the name already?
It's called Crib Sheet.
Crib Sheet.
Yes. So it's like spreadsheet. Crib Sheet.
That's cute.
And there's something in here that I was like, oh, I have to talk about this on the podcast. So I haven't finished the book. When I finish it, I'm going to reward myself with something because, So I get to the part in the book that is talking about recovery after labor, right? And there's a section about exercise and sex. And of course, those are important to me. So I'm going to read these 2 chapters. But before I read them, not 2 chapters, 2 paragraphs. Sorry, these 2 paragraphs. But before I read them, I want to ask you a question. What do you think, when are women able to have sex again after they have a vaginal delivery?
As far as I know, it's 6 weeks.
Okay. And what led you to that?
It's just what I've always heard.
You've always heard that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if it's Dominican culture, Latin culture, we have this thing called la cuarentena, meaning 40 days. Like, it's just known in our culture that women have to wait 40 days.
Okay.
Right? Which is approximately close to the 6 weeks, right? Like 6 weeks is how many days? 7 times 6.
42.
Okay, quicker. See, you're supposed to be doing multiplication with Eli. So that's around the same time, right?
Okay.
So let me read this. So this book is all about the data and the facts, right? When it comes to sex after baby, there's a commonly accepted rule: no sex until 6 weeks postpartum, after you have had a checkup with your doctor. This is so often cited that I had assumed it was evidence-based, that there was some biological reason why you need to wait this long, no more, no less. In fact, this is completely fabricated. There is no set waiting period for resuming sex after giving birth. The 6-week rule appears to have been invented by doctors so husbands wouldn't ask for sex. This somewhat odd tradition persists, When I had my first postpartum checkup around 6 weeks after having Finn, the doctor, not my midwife, but the doctor who happened to be available that day, told me I was fine and then asked if I wanted him to write me a note to tell my husband I was not. I found this very uncomfortable.
What the fuck?
So you have a completely shocked...
I have a lot of thoughts going on right now.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind is like, so we can have sex tonight?
And this is why this tradition persists. Because look at Travis right away. So that means we can have sex?
So it was solely put into place to basically stop thirsty men from wanting to have sex, not because of any health reasons.
So she goes on later to say, like, obviously you need to heal, right? So if you have a vaginal delivery, or even if you have a cesarean, if you have a cesarean section, that's major abdominal surgery, right? So of course you need to heal. You can't just jump into sex. If you have vaginal delivery, of course you need to heal. A lot of women also, majority of women tear. So you need that to heal before you can have sex. However, the 6 weeks number is completely like made up. Like there's no data or biological reason when that is. The only true marker is that the woman is ready. Like she feels ready. She feels comfortable. She's
mentally,
healed.
physically.
I'm glad you said mentally, because even if we have this 6 weeks as Bible, like that's what it is, right? What if I come home after my 6 weeks appointment? I'm like, I'm not ready. Well, tell me, what would you say?
I mean, it's your body, your choice. So.
You're about to sweat.
No, I'm not. And I hope I never make you feel like you have to have sex with me. And, sex is so much better when you want it more than when I want it.
And I agree. And I believe we have a very healthy sexual relationship in that sense. But I do feel like having that 6 week rule has made it easier for both of us to kind of like refrain from attempting to have sex.
Has it?
Don't you think? Don't you feel like it's been more like of a... First of all, we're tired of shit.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Like, we're just exhausted. But I feel like having that 6 weeks in our head has made it a little easier to be like, well, we can't do it right now anyway.
That's true. But I mean, there's been moments where it's just like,
fuck, this
we
sucks.
really want each other.
Yeah. But had we read this, would we have just went and did it?
Probably. Not shit. Like, how much time for this podcast to be over?
So I read this like 2 nights ago, and I was holding it, like waiting for this episode to talk about it.
Our situation aside, because I do, like you said, I do think we have a pretty healthy relationship with sex. It is very telling, the state of, relationships, marital relationships when it comes to sex, how unhealthy that shit is.
And how it's always the responsibility of the woman to like, what's the word? But why is it so we're putting this rule on women so their men could not be so thirsty? It kind of reminds me of like telling girls like, don't wear that dress just in case so a guy won't do something. Like putting the responsibility on the woman not to be like sexually harassed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You get what I'm saying?
That's insane.
And
I hope I am able to come up with you when you have your checkup. Your is it postpartum checkup? I'm gonna ask the doctor like where'd that 6 weeks come from? See what she says.
Yeah, I should ask her.
See what she pulls out her ass. Well, start throwing out big words. The vaginal area needs to blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking is that a lot of the stuff in here, this book will be ideal for a woman who's about to give birth I started once I already did. So a lot of the beginning of it, I already went through it, but it was still interesting to read the data and the facts and seeing where I fell and how my decisions might have been different had I read this book sooner. But a lot of the things that I learned here, I learned in those like 48 hours of the delivery. I feel like they should be spreading out some of this information and some of these expectations during the prenatal visits, especially the last 4 weeks. Like after 32 weeks, when I visit the doctor, some of the like what's going to happen to your body, what you're going to feel, what things you need to bring to the doctor. Like I was asking Instagram, like, what should I bring with me to the hospital? Prenatal care should be a little bit more informative. Maybe some places are. I don't know. But anyway. So you ready?
Yeah. What a mind fuck. I feel like I just woke up from the Matrix.
Even I'm like, what? But if you think about it, when you think of Irish twins and how close they are in age.
Also think about as a society how much we judge people who, when you hear like, damn, she's pregnant already, like they couldn't keep it in their pants. Mm-hmm. We judge them, like straight up judge them. And well, I honestly, the reason I have judged people for that is not because they wanted to have sex, but like y'all couldn't have protected sex or contraception. But let's say it's a couple who plans on having more kids and they don't want to have protected sex.
Yeah.
And she's listening to herself mentally and to her body, and she feels ready. As a society, we would talk shit about her.
Again, another pushback on that is I might think, was she okay? Did she really want to have sex with that man, or did he pressure her to do it?
There's a lot to unpack.
Right? Like you might worry like, And when we think about postpartum recovery and needing these 6 weeks, right? What about adoptive parents? You're still going to be exhausted as hell. You don't have the physical, like literally your vagina or your abdomen isn't recovering. But the lack of sleep we've had these past 6 weeks, like even if I didn't need to heal, I don't think our sex life will be like, woohoo, booming. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have to focus on that and like being mentally ready for sex more so than physically.
True.
Yeah. Because, men could have postpartum depression.
That's in the book?
Yeah.
What's the signs?
Your lack of sleep, a lot of changes going on. You can have anxiety about making sure the baby's safe and okay and breathing and, the same stresses that a birth mother might have.
I might have a little of that.
Adoptive parents have, men have, dads. And it's typical to have a little and to have worry. But when it becomes a mental health issue, that's different.
I'm laughing because I'm like, I might have a little of that, but I could fuck through it.
God, you're disgusting. You are truly...
I'll be sad, but...
disgusting. All right. So moving on, we have a intense, also y'all can relate, episode today. And the also y'all can relate story is called Your Cop Boyfriend is Not Invited to Our Wedding.
Okay.
All right. So this one, all right, it's deep. When I first read it and I responded to the person who submitted it, I stated one thing. When I reread it now and I'm about to share it with you all, some of my perspective has already changed on it. Not changed, but like I'm empathizing a little bit more with the person who submitted it. So let's get started. My fiance and I have been together for 5 years this year. When we first got together, I was a mask presenting lesbian, but 3 years into our relationship, I accepted myself as a trans man and started transitioning. Our relationship has gotten so much better and she has been so supportive the whole time. She's a great woman, and I always knew I would marry her. So first, I'm going to say, like, I always think about how strong a relationship has to be to, like, deal with a transition like that. Not deal with it. Like, I don't want to say it like it's a burden. But
that's a lot of stress.
It's a lot. Not a lot. It's a big transition that relationships struggle to get through change in general, right? And when I think about someone transitioning their gender, it's heavy on their family, their body, and a lot of focus is on that person. So I feel like in a relationship, the other party might feel like
smaller, like their light can't be as bright,
or like their problems can't be valid, because it's like, I'm dealing with this big transition, everything else you're dealing with is so small, right? But again, I'm not living it, so I wouldn't be able to 100% say, but that's just my perspective of it from the outside. We got engaged a year ago and have been planning our wedding. We wanted to have it next summer, and we're texting our families, letting them know our boundaries for the wedding. Example, we wanted everyone to be vaccinated if they were to attend, and no kids were allowed. Understandable. Set your boundaries. It's your wedding. We had issues with boundaries at our wedding, but that's for another day. Everybody agreed to our conditions except one cousin, my cousin. I am Mexican, Native American, with decently brown skin, and my fiance is a Black woman. We both are activists and are not afraid to speak up for what's right. I even got arrested at a Black Lives Matter protest, and my whole family knows. When it happened, they would make jokes. Coming from the West Coast, it is very common to hear non-Black people say the N-word. Even coming from the East Coast. Growing up, the N-word was just slang. It wasn't an African American term. It was just a hood term. Anybody from our community, everybody said it. Mexican, Puerto Rican.
Well, I agree. But even within my community, we still had a hard stop at white people.
Where I grew up, there's no white people. Okay. So
I remember we had, I went to a junior high school with a few white people, a good amount of white people. Mm-hmm. That's like the first time I saw a lot of white people, actually. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't happening.
I remember my high school, there was like one white girl. She was hood as fuck. And like she could pass, because there's white people in Latin countries. So to me, she just looked like a white Puerto Rican girl, but she was like a white girl. But that was like the only one. The only white people I ever knew were like cops and teachers. And in this story, she's talking about her Mexican and Native American family. So like in my community, that will be typical.
Yeah, they get a pass.
Like everybody in this community. And maybe not so much so anymore nowadays, but growing up, that's just how it was.
How do you, before you go on, how do you feel about the N-word now and using it at our age? Because I've used it. Mm-hmm. I use it. I've used it on this podcast. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I've been having moments of like, it's like a little cringy. Mm-hmm. Like I have better words in my vocabulary.
So for me, I don't want to police people's language, right? That's my thing. Like obviously white people cannot say it. But I feel like when I went to college and suddenly like was learning about history and like, oh my God, we shouldn't really be saying the N-word. I felt kind of bougie telling people in the hood what they can and cannot say. Like that's their culture. That's what they've known. It kind of looks like I'm out of touch trying to force people not to use a word that just seems so regular for them to use, right? However, for myself now, I don't want to use it where it's just rolling off my tongue constantly. Like I don't want to be addressing people by the N-word. I don't want to just be telling a story and I'm saying it like, this nigga did that, this nigga did that. Well, nigga, let me tell you. Like it shouldn't be. But when I was growing up, that's how I spoke. Like it was like it was just constant, and that's how everybody spoke. Now, if it's in a song, if I'm telling a story, if it fits in the context, I'll say it. But I don't want to be using it all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I feel like I've cut back on my nigga usage.
Absolutely.
And I think we can move in a direction where we don't need to use the word as much, or at all. I almost feel like it makes you looked at as like a certain type of people when you do use the word in
what do you mean?
Like more hood or more ethnic, or
And you see that as a bad thing?
Depending on the situation you're in, yeah. Like I wouldn't be having a conversation with a bunch of white people and me telling them a story and then I'm using the N-word.
So code switching.
Yeah.
Okay. See? And I get that. And that's part of survival. That's part of keeping a job. That's part of, getting in where you fit in for certain things. But I also see that as a little problematic in a way. Like just because I use the N-word doesn't make me less qualified for X, Y, and Z. But I also understand the need to code switch and the need to appear less threatening in certain crowds. So I get it.
Yeah, and even hearing you say it like that, it's like, why am I doing that?
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait, what do you mean? Because it's complicated, it's layered, but your experience is valid.
I do know, and anyone who's works in or any job where there's maybe like a smaller number of a minority group, and you have a company-wide meeting, and then you have your black meeting after, and then the first word is like nigga, so it has its place. I'm not completely never gonna use the word, but definitely less.
But yeah, I'm like a little sad because it sucks that we have to navigate and like in these white spaces and police our own language because how it might make us look, even though we have the same fucking job. But all right. Yeah, we totally went on a whole tangent about the N-word.
Insert Trinidad James.
Trinidad James.
Nigga.
I don't get it.
You don't know his song?
No.
Oh my Lord.
The gold all in my
nigga.
In the song?
Yes. What?
Which part? I don't remember. It's not coming to me. I have to hear it again. It's totally. I remember gold all in my chain, gold all in my watch or some shit. Don't believe me? Just watch.
Nigga.
Don't believe me? Okay, I get it. Okay.
I just broke my N-word usage.
We should have a ticker. Ding, ding. All right. So coming from the West Coast, it's very common to hear non-Black people say the N-word. The whole time dating her, I will consistently correct my family members. So that's where it gets a little, I had a conversation with them really stressing the importance of it. And my brothers understood and stopped saying it. Having my own bad experiences with cops and my fiance and her family obviously being traumatized by cops their whole life, I told my cousin that her cop boyfriend wasn't allowed to the wedding.
There's more, or can I talk?
You could talk before I read.
What?
What happened?
Why?
She just said
because of her fiance's black, and her family has been mistreated by cops. She doesn't want her boyfriend, whose occupation is a police officer, to come in a suit. You see where I'm going with this?
So he's not dressed in cop.
He's not coming
as a cop.
He's not dressed in cop face.
Okay. But what if he's like, I bleed blue?
And that's fine. I don't know this man, so I'm just going based off what you're reading.
Okay.
But I don't know. I know cops, and they're just not like, hey, nice to meet you, I'm a cop.
So, all right. So this is where
feel like it just felt unnecessary.
All right. When I first read this, I was like, "Ooh, that kind of sucks," because I thought about, imagine you being excluded from an event. Then I'm not going. If you can't go, I'm not going, right? I also thought about the cops that I know. I don't know that many cops, but I have friends whose husbands are cops, or people I went to college with, they're cops, women as well. And they're people that before they were cops, I knew them as people. And I'm never gonna be like, oh, I disassociate myself with you because of your occupation, right? I also believe that in our community, we are targeted. What's the word when
preyed upon?
Preyed upon. What do you call the people recruited? Like they recruit people from our community to become cops because of the pay, the benefits. You get to retire in 20 years. And think about it. If you're a young adult, you started a family, and this sounds like a dream, right? You could retire in 20 years. You don't need a college diploma, a college degree. So I feel like people fall into it out of convenience and necessity for their family, not because they think, oh my God, the NYPD is like the best police department in the world.
Do we know if her cousin's boyfriend or husband is his ethnicity?
No.
Okay.
We don't
Not
know.
that, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. He could be white as bread.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that wasn't the move.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple fact that it's not like you told people, come to my wedding dressed as your occupation.
Yeah.
He would have been there in a suit, I'm assuming, and had a good time, and no one would have been the wiser.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very like, we need to learn how to be in the same spaces together with people that
do you feel that they have to be in the same space with someone they don't want to be on their wedding day?
If their reasoning is solely based upon his occupation, I think it's messed up. Now, if their reasoning is based upon maybe he's on social media saying Blue Lives Matter and stuff like that, then I 100% get it. Unfortunately, I don't think we know that.
That's what I said. I was like, listen, just because he's a cop, I don't know if I would have made that call, right? However, I've never been arrested at a Black Lives Matter conference. I haven't had such huge negative experiences with cops personally, or my family personally, to maybe feel more triggered. Like, we don't know why, because she didn't say, obviously, because my fiance is Black, we don't want him there. She said her family being traumatized by cops their whole lives. So I don't know what that means. I don't know how deep that is, that maybe just knowing he's a cop is enough for her not to want him there. And who am I to say that that's not enough, that that's not a valid enough reason?
I'm basing this off what's in the,
and I get
in the
that.
email. And to me, it's not enough. And maybe also I'm coming at it from my personality trait, whereas I don't really let much get to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, swallow my pride per se.
Mm-hmm.
And if I really want my cousin there, but, I'm not really too big a fan of their partner, I'll suck it up because I want my cousin there to celebrate with me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But maybe the not liking the partner is more like, I'm afraid of your partner. Like, who are we to say what their level of trauma is and their connection to this person is?
So listen, we could add,
because we don't know.
We could do a lot of what ifs.
What ifs, yeah.
But surface level, to me, Travis, that was the wrong move.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I hear what you're saying. What this could be that, this could be this. But just from what I'm hearing or reading, that to me wasn't that wasn't a nice. It feels mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be like, oh no, I don't want him here. I would never date a cop. Ever.
And that's your preference.
And I would strongly advise my children not to become cops. But You know what? I also feel like now with my experience, I would hope my children don't want to become teachers. And not educators, but like not to teach within a public education system or even a charter system. Like maybe be educators for like adults where they run their own business. So they're teaching people in a different way, or opening up their own school or their own daycare or something like that. But I feel like the system is the issue, just like with policing. It's not the individual cops. I feel like it's a systemic problem that I don't want my children in. And I feel like in education is very similar.
But, you know, we don't know what our children could grow up to be and possibly do to change these systems.
But that's another fear of mine, is like that desire to want to change something that's so broken could lead to so much disappointment and so much hurt. Yeah. And lead a life of like never feeling accomplished because you're just trying to fix something that's so deeply broken.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I just want my children to do what makes them happy, as long as it's legal.
And not cops.
As long as it's legal.
Yeah.
And it makes them happy, as long as they feel like at the end of the day that what they're doing is fulfilling them.
But it scares me. You know why? Because I feel like we become... So, for example, as an educator, right? Before I was a teacher, I was a paraprofessional. So I was like a teaching assistant. The school I was originally in, I felt like the people that worked there were so jaded and had so many negative feelings about the community, about education, about the pay, about the union, about the chancellor, about the mayor, that every time I went to work, it was like this wave of negativity that I was like, I can't teach here long, because within a year or two, that's going to rub off on me. And I don't want to hate my job. I'm just starting. If I have to do this for 32 years, I can't be around this like negativity, right? So I feel like even the cop with the best intentions is going into this negative system day in and day out. It might change you a little bit. You know, like what if your kid is like, yeah, you know, I want to be a cop, but I'm going to be the cop that like changes shit. But then their opinions start to get skewed by the culture that they're in. And even like you just said, like being in certain spaces, you code switch. I believe there's cops who do that. They might not 100% agree with all lives matter or blue lives matter and all this stuff. But what they're going to do when all the cops around them are all chanting that and they all have loaded guns?
I hear you, but I also don't think the answer is to seclude these people from society.
No, absolutely not. I'm saying in terms of why I would highly push my children to do something else. Because you're saying, yo, whatever you want, just be happy. I feel like there's some limits on that, and I might have some pushback. I'm not going to disown you, but I feel like I'm going to tell you that I strongly disagree and hope that I'm able to convince you to do something else.
Okay. But back to the original point, I feel like that seclusion, or that attempt at seclusion, it just seems like very like bully-like behavior. And I hate bullies. And even though this person, that probably wasn't their attempt, they're trying to protect their peace and their partner's peace. It to me is doing the opposite of that.
Yeah. All right. So after she told her cousin, like, your cop boyfriend can't come.
I'm sorry, is their pronoun she?
Huh?
Is it she?
I
just want to be respectful.
Yeah. I think I might have messed up. I think I'm thinking of the cousin. I told my cousin that her cop boyfriend wasn't allowed to the wedding. So the person who submitted this is a man. So I might have confused that. I told my cousin that her cop boyfriend wasn't allowed to the wedding. She took that as disrespectful and tried popping off on me, saying we are hypocrites and judging him when he's a good person. She threw my queerness in my face, saying, well, I supported your lifestyle, so you can support my boyfriend. And tried comparing being a cop to being black. So this is where their cousin fucked up.
Okay.
Why you made that face?
Because you're saying this is where the cousin fucked up, but I would push back on that and saying this is just an effect, cause and effect. So you can't, you always point out to me, you can't control how people react to something. Mm-hmm. You just have to accept, like, all right, this is a reaction to what I said or what I did.
You can't control their reaction, but you don't have to accept their reaction. I feel, especially at our age, we have to learn how to control our responses to certain things, right? Even when we're in defense, we have to remember that there's certain things we say we can never take back.
No, for sure. And, I know, you have pointed out to me numerous times that old Stephanie, this is a woman in front of you who has done a lot of internal work, because old me would have said this, that, and that, or done this, that, and that.
When I would be in defense mode, I would say like anything, like to be not right, but to hurt you. If we're in an argument, I would, what do they call that? A low blow. I'll be hitting all the low blows.
You weren't Michelle Obama.
No, I wasn't taking the when they go low, we go high. No, I was doubling down.
Yeah.
I've learned that that's not okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel like that was totally unnecessary, uncalled for.
No, so definitely uncalled for.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, the whole throwing their queerness. Is that what they are?
Yeah, because it's kind of like saying, well, I accepted you as trans, so you have to accept my cop boyfriend. It's totally two different things. And it's kind of showing like, I feel like your queerness or your decision to transition is something that I don't really agree with. I'm accepting it.
Yeah.
So since I accepted that, you should accept my cop boyfriend.
But do you think it's also possible that the cousin is in defense mode and maybe hasn't done the inner work and is trying to...
But it's still wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it was her defense, but it was wrong.
Okay.
Like, I feel like the cousin should be able to sit back and be like, I don't agree with you, but in my disagreeing with you, I shouldn't have hurt you in that sense, in that way. Does that make sense?
Sure, for sure.
Okay. I told her my queerness and my fiance's blackness was not a choice. It is something we cannot take away. Basically, most of my family took her side and said I should be the one to apologize because I came at her harsh. I owned up to coming off as blunt and harsh, but I said what I said. They wouldn't even acknowledge her wrongs, and that what she was trying to compare wasn't comparable. She has always opted in and out of her whiteness when it helps her. Her dad is some rich white guy. So I guess she's mixed.
Like a white passing Latina.
Yes. Or now, maybe she's not. Maybe she's a white Latina. So that's the thing. Like, with language, white passing. No, if you're white passing, you're white. It's complicated. But it's also, in our previous conversation, about code switching. We can't 100% blame people for when they do that, because we live in a culture and a society where for survival, we have to hold on to the things that keep us safe and allow us to advance in life. You know what I'm saying? Again, it depends on the age. It depends to the degree in which she's doing this. Is it survival or is it, I think I'm better than you? You understand? But I get the frustration. My family loves to gossip, but not confront the person when they're talking about the person they're talking about. Then shit just gets brushed under the rug like it never happened. My fiance is very opposite and hates gossip. She texts my cousin saying, I know you've been stalking my Twitter and talking about me, so let's talk about it if you've got a problem with me.
Oh, she's spicy.
She's assertive. Not assertive, but like, she's not going to gossip behind her back. What's the word for that? Like, she's direct. My cousin immediately responded with anger, saying, you have the nerve to text me, blah, blah, blah. They basically got into a big argument, and it made the situation a lot worse. Towards the end of the conversation, since my cousin's argument wasn't winning, she turned to transphobia, dead naming me. That was the last straw for me. I don't think I'll ever consider her my family again. So this goes back to what we were saying.
And then, so for those of you who don't know, dead naming is when you refer to a trans person as the name they had prior to transitioning. So if Rob was formerly Rebecca, you refer to them as Rebecca.
And doing it like on purpose.
Yeah.
To be like, you know, basically, what's the word? Like disrespecting their transition, basically. Which I feel, again, you do not agree with her. Y'all are having this disagreement. It's a low blow and it's disrespectful and it doesn't compare. It's kind of like Blue Lives Matter. Like being a cop is your occupation. You aren't born into that. So when we talk about Black Lives Matter, it's totally different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in this argument, I felt like their cousin was out of line, was out of pocket, and shouldn't have said that. But I know you probably feel, because I see it in your face.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts going through, and I'm definitely empathetic of what they have gone through or going through. But I'm also on one side, it's like, you know your family. Like, I know my family, you know your family, you know what you're going to get from certain people. You know that when you tell this person the type of reaction you're going to get as opposed to this person. I don't think any of these things that is happening with her cousin is new, in the sense that he knows that their cousin is capable of these things. It just has maybe never been on them. You know, what's that saying? It's like something about like, if you see someone treating someone a certain way, it's only a matter of time until it's your turn, basically. I might be butchering it, but that's basically the gist of it. I'm sure he's seen his cousin act this way before.
Or the family, they even mentioned like transphobia and racism before in the family and the use of the N-word. So yeah, they probably were aware that their family had the capability of like doing or saying those types of things. So I get that. For me, in relations to my advice and that, and like knowing your family, is they're an activist, their fiance is an activist based on their life experiences, right? That are unique to them, their family, especially the older generation, the aunts, the parents, the grandparents. They don't see it the same way. They're not going to see it the same way. So expecting them to just side with you and leave the cousin in the dust and be like, oh yeah, get that cop out of here, is unrealistic.
Never gonna happen.
It's never gonna happen. It's an expectation that, as much as it makes sense to you in your head because of your experiences, you have to understand that it's not gonna click for them in that way. So we have to choose our battles. Now, how important is your family? Are you willing to just say, forget them forever because of this disagreement? Or are you willing to say, okay, you can't meet me where I'm at because our experiences don't align, but thank you for doing the work. They mentioned how their brothers stopped saying the N-word. Like their family accepted them as a trans person, right? So it's like small changes over time. And now how much of what the areas that they need to grow and improve, are you going to let that impact your wedding? Because this is a big day now that's being ruined.
And I do believe that him and his fiance, they should only have people that they want there. 100%.
Absolutely.
100% agree. I just think the approach could have been better. Yeah, that's my only pushback.
What I think though, the cousin should have just said, okay, no problem. I respect your decision and your boundary on your wedding day. Understand mine. Since my boyfriend can't be there, I can't be there either. That's it. I feel that's where it should have ended. Because it doesn't invalidate the couple that's getting married and their boundary. And it also keeps you respectful to your partner.
But I'm just trying to put myself in the cousin's shoes, right? Someone calls you and says, hey, listen, wedding's coming up. Unfortunately, so-and-so can't come because, he's a cop and I just don't want his cop energy at my wedding. I'm just paraphrasing, possibly. As the cop's partner, you would probably want to get across that, he's not like one of them. And although she didn't express it that way, her defense of him was probably an attempt to say, you're fucking bugging. He's, and I put this in air quotes, one of the good ones. So it's tough. I see it both ways. And I don't want it to come across that I don't feel for this person and their partner. But I can just see how those actions that they took in order to protect their space can cause division and cause this drama.
I wish people would just respect each other's boundaries, and that's it. Even if you disagree. Because even if someone said, Travis can't come to my wedding, I'm going to spend 3 hours defending you. And then they're like, okay, y'all can come. We don't want to go anymore. We don't want to be there with y'all energy after he was uninvited.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, woosah. And maybe if afterwards, as cousins, you're like, we need to talk about this decision you made back for your wedding and have a civilized conversation where it isn't impacting their wedding in a negative way. Fine. But that takes a lot of growth.
Yeah. Is there more?
No. Well, there was a little more, but it was just asking for advice or our opinion, and also stating that they did reach out to the family, expecting the family to understand their point, and the family's no.
Yeah.
But I feel that covers what I mentioned. We can't expect the family to just abandon the cousin. They're kind of in the middle too. They're stuck in the middle.
It's tough. But I guess my last bit of advice is, this is a special day for you and your partner, and try and curate it as best as you can, and have people that you want in your life there, and people not in your life then and moving forward there. I think that's the most important thing. You don't have to, try and keep all these relationships happy that probably aren't that important to you. Just because someone's family doesn't mean they need to be there. It's that's not a all access card to you because we share some DNA.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been realizing as I get older is that, just because this person's your family, we're not kids anymore. You have to play with your cousins when you're 6, 7, 8 years old. But as you become an adult, it's like any other relationship you have. You have to work on it. You have to find out, all right, this person's interests, this person's likes, dislikes, all that stuff that go into a friendship. You at 31 years old, there are people you feel like no longer serve you in that friendship department. So you it's not for me. Why do those rules change for family if they're not serving you? We're not 6, 7, or that
anymore. Whole like blood and family is what keeps people in toxic relationships. And no, I don't care if we're family or not. Like, you got to be respectful. Yeah. And when it comes to weddings, that's a lot of drama too, because people feel entitled to you and your space because you're family. Even if you haven't spoken in years, no longer hang out, people see it as like, oh, it's the wedding? Like, we have to be there. And it's like, that's not the case. We have to respect people's boundaries. Like, weddings aren't free either. So it's like, now these people you haven't seen in years, you have to pay for food for them and liquor for them and space for them. Like, no.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I was going to say that could lead into a whole nother episode. So,
yeah.
Sending healing energy to everyone involved. And I hope that you and your fiance figure out a way to curate the wedding that's going to make you happy to look back on 5, 10, 15 years from now, and that you did it your way.
Yeah.
And it only brings you happy memories, or, looking back at it.
So. Absolutely. And I do want to apologize because Travis pointed out I was going back and forth in the pronouns and I shouldn't be. So I apologize for that.
I think it's all about your intention.
Yeah. I don't want to make excuses though. I could do better.
Okay. Baby.
All set?
Yeah, I think we're all set. Baby.
Daddy.
Can we have sex tonight?
No, that's not how the show ends.
Oh shit. Sorry.
He messed up. Rewind.
Sorry. Baby.
Daddy.
Can we make love tonight?
Okay. Rewind again.
Baby.
Daddy.
Do you still like me?
No. I do still like you.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.